So I want to welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to talk about green jobs, what they are, how to help your customers get them, whether they're veterans or other clients that you're working with, who to partner with so you can really make those connections and connect your folks to the jobs that are out there, and where to find more resources. Let's start with some definitions. Green jobs are jobs that provide either products or services that use renewable energy resources, reduce pollution, conserve energy and water, and reduce or recycle waste. So that's one of the definitions of green jobs. You'll find right now that because it's an emerging economy, there are many different definitions of green jobs, and one of the things to remember is that green jobs are across lots of different sectors in the economy. So we might think of, when you think of green jobs, probably the image that comes to your mind is a solar panel installer or a wind energy technician, some of these new energy jobs. But green occupations that help the environment, clean the air and water, reduce energy, can be found in construction, manufacturing, across the service industry, transportation, agriculture, food production, public utilities, government services. Really everywhere in the economy you can find a green job. And green jobs can be either what we're calling green collar jobs or green tie jobs. You might be familiar with blue collar jobs or white collar jobs. I started my career as a weatherization installer. That was a green collar job. I got my hands dirty. I got into crawl spaces and attics. I wrapped water heaters with fiberglass and used caulk to seal up air leaks. Now I have a green tie job. I'm training you and other people in what's involved in the green economy and how to fill skill gaps that employers and job seekers need to get those jobs. Another way to define green jobs is to figure out whether they are totally new occupations or whether they are jobs that are familiar to us but need to be greened up, need to be upgraded to add skills, or whether they're jobs that, because of changes in the economy and moving toward a green economy, they're in more demand. So here are three examples. Wind energy technicians, that job didn't really exist 5 or 10 years ago, so that's a new kind of green job. Somebody like a property maintenance person, property facilities management, or electrician, those are jobs where new skills are needed to respond to changes in the economy, to add green skills. And probably that's the biggest chunk that we're talking about. It's something like when IT got big, information technology, and there were a whole bunch of people who were being trained to be computer technicians and programmers, but eventually everybody had to learn computer skills, and we think that's the way it's going to be with the green economy. Everybody's going to have to skill up and learn some green skills as part of their job. Now, bus drivers are actually considered green jobs because public transportation saves energy, and as we focus on energy efficiency and energy independence, the demand for public transportation is going up, so bus drivers are a green job. Let me say something more about what's driving green job growth, at least nationally. And what you'll need to do in your local area is find out what is driving green job growth in your region, in your city, in your part of the country. So nationally, we know that energy independence is an important thing. We'd all like to produce domestic energy and not have to buy it from overseas. So that's promoting a lot of new technologies so that we can have homegrown energy, whether that's wind or solar, and water, sometimes nuclear, and certainly oil and gas. But energy independence is a driver of green job growth. Reducing greenhouse gases, climate change, and is really a big driver of green job growth. We want to reduce the amount of carbon in the air so we can reduce the impact of climate change. So that's really, those two around energy are really important drivers. A lot of what's driving green job growth right now is government programs and regulations. So there are government tax incentives. There's a lot of money being pumped into the economy through the Stimulus Act, Recovery Act funding. There are regulations around pollution. So those kinds of government activities are really driving green job growth now. To some extent, consumer demand for green goods and services is also driving growth. And as the recession eases and the economy grows, that consumer demand will grow, and so jobs will grow in response. There's also been a lot of technological innovation and global competition that is driving green job growth. That means everything from improving solar panel technology to figuring out how to save water in the manufacturing production process. And that's related to cost savings. A lot of what's driving green job growth is actually saving producers money and saving consumers money, because you're producing products with fewer components, with less waste, less water, fewer components. So those are all drivers of green job growth. You might also have other drivers in your local economy. What I want to do for the next chunk of this presentation is give you some concrete examples of green occupations, so you can know how to connect the folks you work with occupations, depending on what their MOS might have been, their military occupational classification. And let's start with the most familiar sector in the green economy. That's renewable and clean energy. This is where you'd find solar panel installers for sure, and that's a new and emerging field that your customers could get trained for. But it also includes some traditional trades, plumbing, electricians, roofers. Those folks need to learn new jobs to be able to install solar hot water heaters or solar panels. And let's not forget the traditional energy utilities. Electric line installers are going to be a growing occupation because there's a lot of retirement happening in the utility sector. And as utility companies green up and create smart grids and other ways to accommodate solar power and other kinds of energy sources, the electric utilities are going to be green, and they need electrical line installers and others to work in those utilities. Energy efficient building is another sector. There are a whole host of, again, largely traditional building trades jobs that relate to new and existing home and office energy efficiency, what's called retrofitting, which means you go back into an existing building and upgrade the systems and so that it's more energy efficient. Green property maintenance is another area that is going to be growing and is considered a green job. Now we've got, I don't want anybody saying, I'm a janitor, I have a green job, but it's true that janitors are being required in many places to green up their operations. If they are working in an office building or an apartment building or a university that cares about recycling, it cares about installing special components that regulate energy use or special lighting like compact fluorescent lighting, then a janitor really has to be aware of these new green products and new procedures that are going to help the building save energy and recycle. Deconstruction, as opposed to demolition, is another green area. It's related to the construction industry. So there's a whole new way of dealing with demolishing buildings where the materials get recycled and reused instead of just demolished and sent to the landfill. So that work is important work to be done. Then there's all kinds of other recycling that's done, from trash recycling in municipalities to removing hazardous materials, and so there are a variety of occupations related to all kinds of recycling and also building deconstruction. So you can be a truck driver in an industry that is focused on recycling, and your job would be a green job. And when you connect people to that work, you're helping them be part of the green economy. Another area that's very important is environmental monitoring and hazardous materials removal. The BP oil spill off of the coast of Louisiana is a great example of this, where there are going to be not just BP, but lots of firms and lots of workers involved in cleaning up that oil spill. Pollution control is a big concern. A lot of this is government-funded work, and so some of these jobs are with government agencies, and some of them are going to be with private firms. Let's move to the whole area. We're sort of moving from construction and the trades to manufacturing. So green jobs in manufacturing involve two different kinds of things. One is green jobs in manufacturing plants where the product is itself a green product. An example would be non-toxic cleaning products that don't pollute. Another example are manufacturing where the process of manufacturing is using less waste and less energy. And so all different kinds of jobs in manufacturing, whether the product is green or the process is green, are considered green jobs. And actually, Walmart is a good example of this, because they are working in their production process to reduce the kind of energy and waste all along their supply chain. So related to green manufacturing is green distribution. And again, you can either be distributing green products or creating a more efficient and less energy intensive way to distribute the products that are produced. This is really about transporting goods for fewer miles. So right now, I live in Philadelphia. I'm eating a salad. The salad comes from California. So what I'm really doing is eating tons of carbon that were produced by trucking all of those greens all the way from California to Philadelphia that I don't need to be doing, because I could be eating greens from my local area. So this whole process of figuring out how to get products from here to there with the least amount of waste is a green occupation. And increasingly, we need people who are really smart about how to do this. And to the extent that the folks that you work with have the ability to understand and to innovate and make suggestions about how to reduce distribution costs, that's going to be an advantage to them, and they'll be able to succeed in the workplace. So related to distribution is green transportation. And beyond driving trucks fewer miles and putting products on rail instead of trucks, which is more energy efficient, there are car share firms. And so firms such as Zipcar and others help people to either share cars or to carpool. And so if somebody is a car share rental agent, that's a green job, along with bus drivers and rail drivers and other kinds of public transportation related jobs. Now, agriculture is a long-standing job, but there are going to be some new products, some new agriculture products that will be part of the green economy. And we're talking about biofuels. That means growing products that are not for food, but they're for fuel. That could be corn that's used for ethanol. That could be bamboo. It could be other kinds of crops that end up being turned into energy instead of food. And because we want to reduce the energy costs of farming and distribution, there's going to be a big uptick in urban food production and neighborhood food distribution and co-ops, and those jobs are going to be created over the next 5 to 10 years as well. We're going to wrap up with this last area of green occupations, and that's environmentally responsible landscaping and water management. So in addition to saving energy, we want to, in this country, save water and make sure that our air and water are clean. And trees help us both clean the water and clean the air. So landscapers and tree trimmers are green jobs. There are also some new ways to clean the water and make sure that that our sewer systems aren't overloaded, and that's to install green roofs on the top of warehouses or office buildings. So increasingly green roofing and green roof installers are going to be a new kind of green job. Wastewater treatment plant operators, all kinds of engineers, and equipment operators, those folks are going to be needed to clean our water and make sure we have a green landscape that absorbs carbon and cleans our water. So those are some definitions of green jobs, some examples, not comprehensive. In the resource section, there are places that you can go to see many, many more examples of the kinds of occupations we're talking about when we say green jobs. Now, what kinds of wages do these jobs create? Because there's so many different kinds of jobs, it's really a range. Beginning salaries, entry level, could be $8 an hour, $18 an hour, or more. And again, it all depends on somebody's experience and skills. But what's true about most green jobs is that advancement comes with experience and with training. So let's move to what it takes to actually help somebody get a green job. One of the most important things about many green jobs is that math skills are required. These are kind of applied math skills where you have to measure the volume of air or the amount of energy that gets saved. You have to be able to track and record and account for the energy savings or the waste that isn't going into the landfill. So all kinds of applied math skills are really crucial in the green economy. And generally speaking, customer service is also an important skill. Even the traditional trades, especially if you're installing a new kind of technology in an office building or in a home, the customer service to actually explain what you're doing and why it's important is going to be a valuable skill that somebody can offer to an employer. Again, because a lot of these technologies are new, flexibility is important. The willingness to learn is going to be crucial because these aren't the same old jobs. They're jobs that are evolving and changing over time. The other good news is that many green jobs require more than a high school diploma, but less than a 4-year college degree. These are called middle skill jobs, and they're really accessible to folks who are able to spend some time in training, refreshing their skills, getting some new technical skills and certifications, but they don't have to get a college degree or an advanced degree. And there are career pathways that are being developed so that if somebody's interested in moving up over time, there is training, there are degree programs to move up, especially in the energy and building fields, where associate's degrees in building science and engineering and environmental engineering are becoming more available. So we've looked at the kinds of green jobs and the skills that are needed to get green jobs. Where do you get those skills? Where is it possible to get into these new green jobs? How do you get access to them? Well, sometimes you can get access by just moving directly into a job. And again, depending on somebody's military occupational specialty or their skills and experience, they might have transferable skills that allow them to move directly into one of these green jobs. But more likely, some kind of training, some kind of refresher, some kind of field experience will be needed to help somebody transition into this work. And this is the kind of work that most people who are involved in staffing, employment, and training programs already know about, so this could be a refresher for you. But it's important to know that there are apprenticeship programs in unions and also registered non-union apprenticeships that can help people get trained up and get access to jobs and learn while they're on the job. There are also pre-apprenticeship or apprenticeship preparation programs all over the country that are popping up in green job pre-apprenticeship training, and those will be important to look for and to know where they are in your community. On-the-job training and internships are a really important way for people to get experience and hands-on experience in green jobs. And there are skills training programs that result in certificates that you can find increasingly at community colleges and trade schools and by checking out industry associations. Some additional entry points are community-based training providers who are offering employment and training programs. This is especially important for people who need to upgrade their basic skills around math and literacy. There are a lot of community-based providers who really know how to do that well, along with community colleges. And upgrading what we call STEM skills, science, technology, engineering, and math skills related to the green economy and to green jobs will be really important to help people get a leg up and get into the green jobs field. Now, some folks are getting into green jobs by moving into self-employment, and they can offer consulting services, they can become contractors, or run their own businesses. So either immediately or over time, you could run a weatherization contracting firm or a solar installation firm, or offer your consulting services to do sales or marketing or other kinds of work. So there really are as many entry points into the green economy as there are to other jobs, with a reminder that some kind of technology or math skills is probably going to be part of that training package for anybody interested in green jobs. And the other way that staff can help your clients and customers get access to green jobs is to make sure that you have partnerships on the ground that can connect people to those jobs. The reality right now is that there is no central clearinghouse. There's no magic place where you can go get a listing of green jobs or training for green jobs and put that menu in front of somebody and say, here's the menu, what do you think? Because it's an emerging field and because green jobs are so diffuse across the economy, there is no clearinghouse. So to some degree, you, like everybody who is working in this field right now, is creating it from scratch, is trying to pull those resources together to make those connections locally. And this field has really been growing just in the last 2 years in many cities and regions across the country. So my advice is that you need to be building relationships with the people who know the most about the green economy in your city or region. That would mean looking for a city sustainability office or for some kind of citywide or regional green advocacy group. In Philadelphia, the Sustainable Business Network is our go-to organization. They've created a green economy task force with hundreds of stakeholders across the city, and it's our central address for finding out about what's going on with the green economy and green jobs. Increasingly, there are weatherization providers across the country who have grown because of stimulus funding. So it's good to connect with your weatherization provider who may be hiring up people for home weatherization work and also commercial and industrial work. Workforce investment boards, one-stop career centers, community colleges, organized labor, all of those traditional places to find job training are places to go to find job training for green jobs as the economy grows. So in addition to building those partnerships, those partners may have access to funding that you would need to help your clients, your customers, the veterans you work with, get access to green jobs. And there's a whole alphabet soup of funding sources. The Workforce Investment Act, TANF, which is for folks coming off from what we used to call welfare, the one-stop career centers. Those are traditional places to find training dollars. Also Pell Grants and student loans for folks who are going through post-secondary education, union apprenticeships, weatherization programs. The Walmart Foundation has been funding veterans job readiness programs across the country. You should check that out. There are funds from the Department of Justice that cities have been using for green job readiness programs for ex-offenders. So one of those is in Philadelphia. There have been a whole slew of green job programs funded through the federal government, through the Recovery Act, mostly through the Department of Labor. And those are all across the country. And you can go to the Department of Labor and find out if one of those green job training programs have been funded in your location. There are energy efficiency community development block grants. Those are our city grants that come for energy efficiency and weatherization, and they are growing, and there are sometimes job training programs or jobs attached to that funding stream. So again, there are just a whole slew of funding streams for job creation and job training, and there is no single clearinghouse for you to find out what's going on in your region. So you've got to make those connections and find out what's going on in your locality. So I wanted to end with sharing some important resources with you so that you can do the best work for your veterans and your clients that you're working with. There is a group called Veterans Green Jobs. If you haven't heard about them, they help veterans get connected to energy efficiency and conservation jobs. And they exist mostly in the West, but increasingly there's a program in Virginia, and there's a new program in Pennsylvania that will be opening up. Now, if you aren't already registered at workforce31.org, that's the Department of Labor's website for employment and training practitioners. They have a special green jobs site and have just a great series of resources on model training programs, job trends and funding. You can post questions on that board and have them be answered by peers. So workforce31.org, register there, and find a lot of resources that will be helpful to you and your customers. I know that many of you already know about ONET, the center that allows you to look up all kinds of occupations, what the skills are, what the experience needs are. ONET has created a Green Jobs site on their website so that you can look up somebody's, you can have a crosswalk from their MOS to their ONET occupation and then find out what skills they need, what jobs relate to those skills, and there is a special section on the green economy. Your Career One-Stop website, which is linked to the ONET website, can also give you the same information about green careers. And the good thing is that it also links to green training. So once you've found an occupation that might match the interests and skills of the people you're working with, you can then link to the kinds of training that are eligible for public workforce funding, and see if that training exists in your region. And lastly, Green for All is an advocacy group that has really important resources, especially focused on green-collar jobs and training for folks who really need access to green jobs at the entry level. And so I highly recommend Green for All as a resource for you. In terms of green jobs themselves and getting green jobs, again, Green for All has both for the training and green job connections. They have great resources, including profiles of 200 green jobs. So in addition to the occupations listed on this presentation today, you can look up some more green jobs. And I think those are California-based green jobs, but increasingly they are growing across the country. Job postings are another way to mostly get a sense of what are the green jobs out there. I'd say that they are less a source of green jobs that you can actually connect your clients to, and more of examples. But sometimes people actually get jobs by applying through green job postings. And here are some examples: greenjobs.net, GreenBiz. There's a green jobs section of the Yahoo Jobs website. So you can browse those and get more examples of the kinds of green jobs that are actually out there. But, and this is the caveat, and you should know this anyway, that spending hours cruising the Green Jobs board is not the best way to get a green job. If you are going to be applying for green jobs through websites, you can use an aggregator like Simply Hired or Indeed.com with some keywords, and they will scan all of those websites and bring those jobs to you. The best way, of course, to get a green job is to do networking, as it is to do any kind of job. So creating those partnerships with green job training organizations and with employers in your region is going to be your best way to help somebody get a green job. So that's the nature of the presentation today, and I hope you've gotten a sense of how we define green jobs, how you can connect people to those jobs and to training to get the jobs, and what resources are out there to help you connect your clients, whether they're veterans or other folks you're working with, to the green economy as it grows. So I am looking forward to answering your questions in the chat room. Thanks so much, and I will be answering your questions shortly.